Weiss beer season is nearly here and we're kicking it off with an absolute bargain. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I'm taking a look at this. It is Krombacher's Weizen, a 5.3% German Weiss beer from Krombacher, and I've not actually had this before. This is one of their regular everyday beers, but it just doesn't show up in the UK all that often. I clinched this one from Beers of Europe at £2.69, which, well, if it's any good, is an absolute bargain. But let's be honest, it does have a bit of stiff competition. Now, while this isn't an everyday occurrence in our supermarkets, there are plenty of very good Weiss beers that are. Thinking of the Franziskaner, the Weihenstephaner, you get Schneider Weiss sometimes, all of which are big hitters. Krombacher, at least in the UK, not known for it. And let's be honest, Krombacher in the UK, whilst everyone agrees it's pretty damn good for the price, not always considered the highest ranking of the German breweries. But as I found out last year, I covered quite a bit of Krombacher stuff, and their dark beer, whilst my initial impression was, yeah, it's pretty nice, actually, I pitched it head to head with Budvar, one of my favourite dark lagers of all time, and actually, it wasn't so clear cut. It was actually very, very good indeed. So I'm expecting that they could really pull it out the bag with this one. Before we break into it, a quick look at the bottle here. Distinct Krombacher, very tall bottle style. They're quite difficult to get in a beer fridge sometimes if you don't have loads of room, but yeah, it's your average everyday German beer bottle really. Not a lot to talk about. They're keeping it simple, but hopefully the beer does all the talking. Now, apologies to Krombacher, the only Weiss beer glass I have is a Paulaner, one of their main rivals, and incidentally, another one that does a fantastic Weiss beer that you can pick up in UK supermarkets. So they really are being put up against it here, but let's get this a nice pour in the proper way, a nice slow pour. Don't want to get that too excited there. Get most of it in. And then, when we get to the bottom, centimetre or so left in the bottle there, I want to give it a little shake, and I know some traditionalists of UK brewing at least will think, not sure about that, I'm not sure I want all that yeast in there, but it is the proper Weiss beer way, or at least the way the Germans told you to do it, and they made the damn thing, so we're doing it. Cloudy as. Would you look at that? Now that is an absolute picture. In the glass, it has got all of the Weiss beer things that I want. It's got this deep, nice, slightly glowing orange colour. It's much depthier and kind of a dark hue in the middle of the glass, nice and almost kind of rustic lemonade-y towards the edges there where the glass thins a bit. But yeah, it's doing the business. Heaps of carbonation. It's cloudy, but it doesn't look too murky, shall we say. It's still got a lot of brightness about it. The head is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, to be honest, as with most Weiss beers, trying to get aroma notes can be a bit tricky because, well, there's a solid nearly 2.5 inches of foam packing on the top of that. But first signs are good. It does smell like a Weiss beer. They have at least nailed the first criteria for the style, but it's better than that. It's big, zesty. There is a bit of yeasty funk, but it's coming across quite sweet, quite fruity. It's heaps of lemon and orange, if I'm being totally honest. Malt's not really coming through, but probably not a surprise given, well, yeah, just how thick the head is on that. Touch of sharp, lemony, bitter astringency about it. I think this is going to be a fantastic summer sipper just based on the aroma, but I've been proven wrong before, so there's only one way to find out. Let's get into it and inevitably get all of that foam all over the tash. So, cheers. Happy Weiss beer season. That is an absolute dream. They've done it again. I'm straight out the bat. I am very, very pleased with that. And it does stand up to the other supermarket offerings, which in general are at least the same price, and let's be honest, a little bit more. It's got that big, rich, full body that, well, everyone raves about Franziskaner from a UK supermarket perspective because it's got that big, depthy, doughy, just concentrated feel of a Weiss beer. Whereas, let's be honest, the Paulaner, I guess, is a bit midway. But, you know, the Schneider Weiss and the other one whose name is now completely going off the top of my head. But some of them are a little bit on the tame side. They're a little bit just very fresh and light-bodied Weiss beers. I'm not going to go out on a whim straight away and say this is as good, as rich, as big as the Franziskaner, but it's getting pretty close, you know. Like, it's really not a million miles away. And, yeah, the taste notes on this, I think, are going to be pretty interesting. So let's get into it. Top to bottom, taste test time. So initially, right on the tip of the tongue, big, well-carbonated, properly fizzy, heaps of, well, CO2 bitterness. Carbon dioxide does make beer more bitter than it would be without it. If you go and look at a nitro beer, for example, you will see that difference. But you can kind of, it's all there on the tip of the tongue. You can feel those little bubbles exploding, and they're all giving a load of bitterness. There's a nice, sweet, almost candied lemon feel with it as well that just goes into making something that feels, well, a bit like a cough drop, like a lemon cough drop, but it's a bit sweeter than that. It's a bit richer. It's a bit more, well, like you're not taking it because you're ill, you're taking it because it's damn tasty. But anyway, on to the first third of the tongue. And this is where I'm starting to get really excited, because it has got a proper, and I mean proper, malt profile to it. It's not just a hint of malt. This is big, doughy, bready, verging on donut territory, like lemon glazed donuts all the way there. It's absolutely superb. And don't worry if you think I'm being overly kind about this already because I've not had enough of it. Look, we'll address any negatives towards the end, but my initial impression, this is genuine, is it's pretty fantastic. But anyway, over the mid palate, a lot of the richness washes away. You get a load more bitterness. Again, it feels like it's mainly coming from the amount of CO2 in there. It's the carbon dioxide, the bubbles prickling away on the tongue again. It starts to get a few bitter, dark fruit notes. So, you know, you think kind of, you know, blackberries, that kind of thing. The lemon and orange are still there, but yeah, you're starting to get something a little bit darker, a little bit richer, and ultimately it's becoming more refreshing. It's washing out. It's becoming like a bitter, almost sour, not soft drink because it's not a soft drink, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, a soft drink that's not tailored towards kids, basically. It's yeah, something a bit bitter, a bit more considered. And then on the back of the tongue, I'll be honest, not a lot changes from the mid palate. Sourness seems to be boosting a little bit more. And if you were to drink this as I'm doing now, which is just analysing each section, you'd start off at the front going, this is incredible. And then as it goes towards the back of the tongue, you'd be going, actually, it's lost a lot of that brilliant character, and it's kind of just becoming a bit of a nondescript, slightly bitter, fruity experience with not a lot of backing. But the aftertaste soon comes in to the rescue, and ultimately you're not drinking it like that and just focusing on each part of the tongue like I'm doing. So yeah, don't worry, there is a great salvation yet to come, because the malt comes swinging back in, not as big, not as doughy as it was before, but nice, fresh, proper, just like wholemeal loaf proper. It's got, I'll be honest, complete full mixed bag of fruit this time. It's got the orange, it's got the lemons, everything's quite sweet. It's got the berries, it's got, yeah, a fruit salady vibe come to it. There's still some bitterness knocking around. It's still a properly bitter beer all the way through. On their website, they claim this is like a 3 out of 10 bitterness. And it's interesting because it probably is. Like, the overall lasting effect isn't, you know, it's not making your tabs laugh or anything like that. It's really just, well, to be honest, as a single pass, it feels like quite a sweet beer with just a bit of bitterness to it. When you start dissecting it, a lot of it feels quite bitter, but it's bookended by massive amounts of malt sweetness. And yeah, it really is just ticking all the boxes. What I have noticed though is that throughout that whole kind of review process, I've not mentioned the Weiss beer yeast once, and that is normally such a big component of it. Obviously, it is giving off some of those fruity notes, but is it really noticeable? Yes, just before the aftertaste kicks in, you do get that slightly drying, slightly, not quite gritty, but kind of powdery sensation on the tongue from the yeast that's in there still. It's there, it's giving that funk, but it's soft, it's approachable, it's sweet. If you don't like Weiss beer because of that slightly funky yeasty thing, I'm not going to say you're definitely going to like this, but it's one of the, I guess, more approachable because it's got a lesser amount, but it's also quite a big, breathy, sweet beer, whereas a lot of the others, well, there's either, You know, there's lower yeast amounts, but also low flavour, or they're big flavour, big yeasty note. This, yeah, kind of dials that down a little bit relative to, well, just how big and impressive the rest of the beer is. I don't think it's as big and bold as the Franziskaner, but I think I might pick it over just about anything else that's easily to get. The Weiss possibly not, because that is kind of in a league of its own, even above the Franziskaner for me. But yeah, it's a very special thing, this, especially at £2.69 in this day and age, to put out a beer with that much body, that much variety, that much, well, just true to form fashion. Personally, for me, is, well, a pretty good achievement. Just before we wrap this up, we'll have a quick look at the bottle. On the front it says Krombacher Weizen. It's all in German, so I'm not going to be able to read most of this. It suggested that it's natural, making a big fact about the Felsquell Wasser, which is their natural spring water, I would assume. And no surprise, the ingredients are water, wheat, malted barley, hops, hop extract. Interesting. Look, it is on the cheaper end of the scale. The fact that they're using hops and hop extract might not be a huge surprise. That extra bitterness could definitely be coming from hop extract, which is also an interesting idea. But okay, we can argue whether or not a corner has been cut in there. They are still using proper hops, just not all of it proper hops. But I don't think it matters. For the price, it is absolutely outstanding, and you saw my reaction when I first tried it. Yeah, I can't get away from that. It is very well done, and at no point when I've taken a sip of this have I genuinely thought, you know what, they might be cutting a few corners here. It's not there. The quality is in it. Yes, it's not as big and thick and rich as the Franziskaner, but as I say, it's kind of doing one over on pretty much everything else. And to be honest, yeah, I'll definitely be going and buying a few more of these. As I say, I got mine from Beers of Europe, £2.69. Whether that price is still accurate or not, I don't know, because it was a few months ago now. But yeah, one worth trying for the summer for sure. Have you tried this or any other Weiss beers that are easy to get in the UK? Let me know please in the comments, and I will do my best to get hold of those and compare them as well. But that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.